Good morning, my quilter friends. How are you today? This is Jackie Erickson, and today I'm going to demo Christmas stockings, which is an advent calendar, and it's called Mini Christmas Stocking Bunting. It's a little pattern by Moda, Pieces to Treasure. So in this pattern, I kind of wanted to show it to you. We do use buttons on the socks. These are what the buttons look like. They're little wooden buttons, and all the socks have the buttons on them. But if you don't want to use buttons and you open up the pattern, it will show you that you also can do red work embroidery on them. And they do give you the pattern for the red work. Here's some of it, there's some of it. Then there's another page of red work. And there's also the template for the sock. So the first thing I do is make my sock template. I use template plastic to do that. So here's this piece. And we're using toweling. So here is the toweling here. Oh, we have some little pieces on there. And toweling is actually quite short. It's only like 18 inches wide. I don't even know if it's that wide. It's pretty, it's not very wide, it's very narrow. So you need quite a bit to get your socks. I am going to demo with a ½ yard. I can get 3 socks out of a ½ yard. You need a front and a back. So there's 3, and then you need your lining. So here's my lining. That I can keep folded. Oops. Right sides together, draw them. I draw them with a Sharpie. I just put my sock right on there and draw around it because you're gonna do a 1/4 inch seam allowance and you're not gonna see that black. It's gonna be gone. You can trim it away. So I just use a Sharpie, much easier. So there's my 4 little linings, although I'm only doing 3 socks. I want to show you the finished socks, which are right over here. There's 25 of them, and these have the little wooden buttons on them. That's a lot of socks. I originally had gotten a yard of the 6 towelings that we have because they asked for a yard of 7, but 5 yards is plenty. I'll give you a few extra socks. I ended up with 15 extra socks when I did the 6 pieces of toweling, a yard each. So I recommend 5 yards. But these will be gifts. Now we're going to sew the sock together. So I've cut everything out. I've cut my two bottom of the socks and my linings. And they look funny right here, but this is how it's going to work. That's the sock, this is the lining, which will go inside of it. But now to sew them together. Okay. We're going to sew these 2 together, right sides together, line up the top. Okay, these 2 together. I made my inside a tiny bit shorter than the sock itself, just so it's easier to push the toe around. I'll show you that in a minute. So those are ready. We're just gonna sew them. Nice little straight line across top, 1/4 inch. I always sew with my needle in a down position, so when I stop, it stops inside the fabric. Grab my other piece, just sew it right on there. Away. Okay, now I'm gonna press this. I don't like little strings hanging around. So I have one laying here right now. I'm gonna press this open. My little seams here with my trusty little Aliso iron. Okay, now I'm gonna stick these right sides together. Okay, then I'm going to pin them. I'm gonna start on this side. I like to leave the little heel part open, not the heel, the little, just above the heel open for turning inside out. I'm not gonna sew this whole thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and show you. I would leave this open about here, in that little opening. Pin all the way around it, then you're gonna start sewing. I would start right here, back tack it, go all the way around a 1/4 inch. I probably should have turned this one inside out. Come back around, back tack here. You're gonna leave that little opening. Then you're gonna turn it inside out. And this is it, turned inside out. See the little opening back here? Now, you can use a knitting needle, if you have a knitting needle, or anything that you have, and stick it in the bottom here, and just kind of run it around the edge of the seam. Oh, and when you're trimming away here, I don't trim too close because this is a loose weave. and you don't want it to come apart. Okay, so now we've sewed the socks together and we've left our little opening here in the back. Normally I'd press this, but I did that with my other socks and I didn't like it. So I'm not pressing the lining. All I'm going to press is the sock itself. And I just put a nice little seam around here. Press it. Get the nice little curves there. Okay. Yep, there we go. All right. Then I need to sew up my hole. I'm just going to top stitch it. You're not going to see it because it's inside. It's inside your sock. So lay it on there. Red would be better. It would match, but I'm going to back tack a teeny bit. And then just sew that closed. Back tack a little bit. It's closed. I don't know. Maybe somebody in your family will actually open the sock up and inspect it. Mine probably would. Okay. Trim those away. Then you're going to take your little sock and stick the lining inside. And because it's not pressed, it should. You have to work the toe in there. And my little stick, this works too sometimes. This is probably the hardest part of the whole thing, is getting the lining in there. It's really, really bulky. Okay, and then you have to roll these edges up. I did, when I was doing my socks, I did all of this, each step, and then this was my last step. And the inside of that toe came back up. So holding it, now I'm going to stick that stick back down in there and make that toe go down in the toe. Then I'll stick my finger down in there and see if it's, yeah, it's working. And the heel, there we go. The bulk is all gone. Just got to work on that a little bit. Now I press the whole thing. And the only thing left is my little, well, actually a couple of things left, is my little hook, which I'm just going to cut a little piece of ribbon from this, and then I'll just attach it in here, right in there. And I actually use a sewing machine, just sew across it. Now, if you're doing the buttons, now is when you decide where to sew the button on, whichever button you want. Here's the 25th, pick your favorite sock, whatever you want to do. Or you can take little pieces of fabric like the pattern tells you to do and do the little red work on the little squares, and then you can sew those on by hand. So you can do that afterwards. And then here is a little finished sock. There we go. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed the video, like us and subscribe.